I wanted to do a video of Jamboard for those who won't be able to join us tomorrow. We're doing a tutorial on it tomorrow, but I wanted to share it on video for those who won't be able to make it. So here we go. I'm here on my Canvas page for my group tomorrow. I'm going to go to Modules. And in Modules, I have my content ready for tomorrow, my morning block, my mid-morning block, and my afternoon block. And I was thinking about this assignment called the penny problem. And the penny problem is going to be a task that we're working on in a lot of different ways, but it's going to begin with reading a text and annotating the text. So in this article, it's a couple of pages, and the students will be reading it and annotating. The tools that we use in our class for annotating include several icons that we use, and then of course we'll be doing some highlighting as well. But it occurred to me that in terms of monitoring, this assignment as it stands now is an assignment that the students would be reading for probably about 35 minutes, reading and annotating this text for about 35 minutes. And while I have a couple of ways that I can monitor, certainly the students in class, monitoring my Launch Ed students, because this is a hybrid group, is a little more challenging. I can certainly do a couple of different things. I can have them share their screen with me to see the monitoring, to do the monitoring. I can also have them share their Google document with me, and I can be logged into the document at the same time as they are, so I can see kind of as they progress. So those are fine ways to do some monitoring for my Launch Ed students. However, I thought that a Jamboard might be a way to do the monitoring a little bit more efficiently, and also it might be more engaging for the students. So in addition to having the article to read and walking through those annotations, we're going to create a Jamboard for them to use. So I'm here in my Google Drive. I'm in the folder for this group, and I'm going to New, and I'm going to slide down to More, and over here I'll find Jamboard. It's an orange icon called Google Jamboard. And that's going to open a brand new Jamboard for us. The first thing I'm going to do is title the Jamboard so that I can find it again when I lose it later. And I'm going to call this penny problem. And I'm going to give it a date because sometimes I will use the article on different dates. So I want to make sure that I know if this was at the start of this activity or on one of the later days. So here we are. I'm going to give if we take a look at these, this toolbar over here, you have a couple of different options. One of them is a text box, so I'm going to use that to give a title to this kind of title card in the front. And this text is, I want it to be bigger. So I have some options here for the text within the text box. I can also center the text within that text box, so I can move it, and I can move it around. You'll notice that when I clicked on that text box, the tools that are available to me here changed a little bit. When I click off of that text box, it goes back to the standard tools. I can set the background, and there are a couple of different background options. Make it look like paper. There's graph paper, 2 different kinds. There's a dark blue background and a black background. So I'm just going to keep it a white background for now. I have the text there. I'm also going to, just for reminder to the kids, I'm going to add a text box, and this time I need it to be a bit smaller, with a few reminders for Jamboard. And it's a good thing to remind them of what our expectations are for working within Jamboard. One is only move your own stuff. Another is respect the space. And the third is Add your name to your work. Hi, hold on, spell that better. To your work. So those are a couple of the expectations that I have for my kiddos when they're working in Jamboard. And you'll kind of see why those come up as we move through this. So here's our title card, and a few reminders are there. In order to add another page, I'm going to come up here to this navigation bar, and that shows me how many pages there are. It tells me there's one of one, and I'm just going to click on the right arrow to add another page, and this is 2 of 2. When I click on the expanded frame there, I can see both of those. I can also move them around if I wanted to. That's a way of kind of moving things. So I'm going to go to the second page. And one of the things that we do when we're reading and annotating is we look for what we call the language of the discipline. So I'm going to come back to my Jamboard, and I'm going to insert an image. And this is an icon that represents the language of the discipline. And I can insert an image a couple of different ways. Oops, sorry about that. I can upload it directly from my computer. I can go to Google Image Search. I can go to my Google Drive, or I can go to Photos. I'm going to upload from my computer. And the mouth icon is one that we use to remind us of the language of the discipline. I've added that image. I can drag it around. I can change the size of it. I can also grab it in this corner and twirl it. I can also duplicate it. So there's my image, and I'm going to kind of give some structure to the Jamboard so that they know what to expect when they come. They usually expect to see a title at the top. So there's the language of the discipline at the top. I can center that. I can also change the color of that text if I want to. I like it being black at the top. Give it a little size to it. So now what's going to happen as students are reading, when they find a word in the text that is specific to that discipline, for example, zinc, they might come back to this page, the Jamboard, and click on the sticky note and add zinc. And let's say that Molly added that. So she adds that to the Jamboard. Now, if another student wanted to add zinc as well, they certainly could. There would be no harm in doing that. But one of the habits that we're getting into is when we see a something that someone else posted, we go to it and put a check mark on it to say, oh, I was going to post that one too. So as students are reading, they would be looking for language that is specific to this text. For example, another student might come up and put in blanks. And let's say that's Michael. And they can choose a different color for their sticky note. It can also be clear. Most often they don't, because they like the colors. So Michael puts that there. You'll notice that all of the sticky notes show up at the start, right up here in this area. And what that means is if 22 kids sticky notes, they're going to overlap a bit, and that's fine. It just becomes an opportunity for them to, find theirs and move it down. You'll notice that check mark was not attached to the sticky note. So it's important that they don't move things around once there are check marks on them. If I wanted to, I could add a direction to this, a reminder. Look for specialized words for this topic. And one of the things that I'll do is I'll try to keep my directions. If I'm adding any kind of directions or reminders or hints, I'll try to keep them kind of in this upper left corner so that my students will always know to go there. So that's the language of the discipline. Another area that the students are going to be looking to annotate is the trends that they identify, if they identify any trends. So I'm going to add a third page. I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to use the trends icon that the kids are accustomed to. Oh, very slow. So I can add that in the corner, duplicate it. I'm going to add a text box right here. I'm going to add a white sticky note with a reminder. And then the students will be able to add what trends they see, they notice are either increasing or decreasing in the text. And I would continue with that and add a Jamboard slide or board for each one of these. So I would end up with 6 pages that the students can go to, and they can add their sticky notes as they're reading, doing their second read. I'm going to go back and remove these, so those can be, the kids can always go back in and edit their sticky note if they forgot to add their name or anything like that. I'm just going to delete those so that my kids don't see them there tomorrow. The eraser tool is for removing the writing. One of their favorite tools is the laser tool. So as I'm going through this Jamboard with the kids tomorrow before they actually start, I might use the laser to point out an area that I want their eyes to kind of fall to as we're working. So I might say, your reminder is right here to look for specialized words in the topic. It is, I wouldn't say it's immediate. I'd say the laser can show up depending on the bandwidth of for the students at home. It'll show up kind of a beat or two after I actually do it. But here in school, it does show up immediately. But some of that will depend on bandwidth. So that's an example of how I am going to be using this for my kiddos tomorrow as a better way for me to monitor what they're working on. That way I can see, are they truly understanding what a trend is? Are they really understanding what a multiple perspective or a stakeholder is within the problem that we're reading about? So that's kind of how it works. That's kind of the deal. I wanted to share with you one other item in, if I can find it quickly. Because I took from the PLC meeting. Oh, wait, there it is. Right there. Oh, rats. Sorry. I'm a dope. Right here. Right here. Open up. You can do it. Open up. So here's a Jamboard. I took some of the slides from our PLC meeting on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. For illustrations in a story. So I have those reminders there. I've decided to use a background for this one. And for each of the pages, I've taken one of the tasks from the CRM. So for example, on this one, the partner talk slide where the students are asked, what does the illustration on page 549 contribute to the reader's understanding of the text? And then there are answers here. Well, the students can come and add Post-it notes and just add their name to show what they think the answer is. And they can make them smaller so that everyone's names can fit. And if they don't fit, then they can spill over onto the page itself. So this would be one where all of the students are responding at one time. And then we can get a view of where kids are falling. Of course, some kids might wait to see other people's answers, and that's fine. There's you can manage some ways of managing that. For example, I might ask them, I might say, okay, open the sticky note, write your name on it, but don't hit save until I count to 3. And then they all show up at one time, and that gets their engagement up as well. Here's one where I took the slide and kind of cropped out part of the slide from the CRM. And this would be one where I might have a small group of students who are all responding on one slide. It might be a team that normally works together, and they're using sticky notes to fill in their answers for each one of these areas. And then they can make the sticky note smaller and fit it in there. Then when I'm going back to look, or when they are sharing with others, they can enlarge the sticky note to share and then just make the sticky note smaller so it fits back where it was. And all you really have to do for this is you can go up to that slide. Again, there's the title, there's the first one that we were working on, and here's this one. You can then duplicate that slide. It will show up here. I've already duplicated it, so I'm going to delete that. And you can see it again here. And I just went in and changed this to Team Totally Cool, which has 4 different, 5 different students in it than the last one. So the teams would go and look for their team page. And that would take some training. You'd have to make sure, are you on your team page? Team Triumph, you guys are blue. Why do I see a yellow sticky there? Oops, sorry. That might be a way to kind of color code things so that everyone's on the correct page. If this team is red, they might use the pink stickies. And as they're giving their answers to different things, where it falls in the chart. So that's a way that groups could work on multiple pages. Here's another one where this one was doing a compare and contrast of the themes for tops and bottoms and the tortoise and the hare. And there's one for blue team, there's one for red team, there's one for green team. So on this one, red team is all working together on this task. And so they are adding their sticky notes, and each student is adding their name, so that when I come along later to see the work, or as I'm looking at the work while it's happening, because those are 2 different but important values I value this because I can see it while it's happening. I also value it because I can do it later and see who was where and who was thinking. I can also look for this to see who is participating and who is not. So that's another way to use Jamboard. There was one other tool that we didn't cover yet, and that is the shapes tool. So in the shapes tool, you have different shapes that you can make on the board. And just by choosing different shapes, you can use that to make graphs and charts and things like that. One of the things that's difficult, and here's something to kind of consider about using Jamboards, is when you create things. So for example, I'm going to go back to this. At first, I started making the Jamboard, and I started using these shapes to help me make this chart. Well, depending on the age of the students, they can easily move these rectangles around and these letters around, and that can really confuse other kids while they're working. So instead, I went into Google Drawing, and I made this chart in Google Drawing, then saved it and added it as an image. Same thing for the Venn diagram. I created the Venn diagram in Google Drawing, and I know that I will get to use that again, because comparing and contrasting themes is something that we do, I'm sure, more than once. Same thing for having an ABCD chart. This setup for a CRM is probably something we'll do more than once. So this having this chart saved in my Google Drive is a useful thing. And we can do another class on that at another time. So that's Jamboard, my friends. So I hope that that's helpful. If I can be useful to you, please holler. Let me know. I'm here. Oh, we didn't talk about the pen. You know what? They could write in here, but the Post-it notes are just easier to move around and stuff, and frankly, neater. So easier to read. And the pen, you have to go back and use the eraser, and that takes a while. So I would say not so much with the pen, more so with the Post-it notes. Okay, so there you go. Thank you. Bye.